Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
A San Diego County Sheriff's deputy has been charged with bringing drugs onto the premises of a county jail. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Community advocates also showed up to court today hoping for some answers. And KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer joins live downtown from the Central Courthouse. Jacob.
Hi, Maya. It's been nearly a month since 48-year-old Deputy Alan Waruski was booked on suspicion of bringing drugs onto a jail property. The San Diego Sheriff's Department says cocaine was found in his car at a San Diego County jail. Today, Waruski was charged under California Penal Code 4573.6, possession of a controlled substance on jail premises. He pleaded not guilty. Community advocates were here for the arraignment. They say they're frustrated and want county jail staff to be scanned for drugs when they show up for work. They say that not doing so is contributing to overdoses and deaths in jails. Sabrina Weddle's brother, Saxon Rodriguez, died in July 2021.
Whether it was a substance like cocaine or any kind of drug, my brother died from a drug that came inside of the jail. My brother was scanned and searched, but the deputies that worked there were not. So I just want answers.
Back in January, newly elected Sheriff Kelly Martinez told KPBS that there was no evidence that jail staff are bringing in drugs, but advocates want more transparency and oversight for officers in the high number of jail deaths that are occurring here. Sheriff officials said Waruski was suspended from the department without pay, but they did not reveal at which jail the offense allegedly occurred. Waruski worked inside the jail and, if convicted, could face up to 4 years in prison. He will have to report for his felony readiness conference in April. Reporting live from downtown, Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Thanks, Jacob. And developers can get financial incentives to build low-income housing, but right now there's nothing like that for building moderate-income homes. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado tells us about a new bill to change that.
There's no question housing is one of the biggest issues facing San Diego County and the state. With that in mind, Assemblymember David Alvarez says he has a plan to help build more homes for middle-income families.
As I go around and talk to San Diegans all over, everybody's worried about housing. But a lot of working class communities and working class families are worried about the future of where their children are going to live.
He's introduced AB 1287, a bill that would require counties to give builders incentives to build moderate income housing after they have fulfilled the number of low income housing units.
And so it's a real win-win for creating more homes for a broad diversity of people and their economic circumstances.
Colin Parent with Circulate San Diego says his nonprofit came up with the idea to expand on existing density law and create a middle-income bonus program and pitched it to the assembly member.
Housing affordability is facing the big challenge facing a lot of people. It's not just poor people who have a hard time making rent now. It's also middle-class people, working people are having also big challenges, and we need solutions to address that as well.
Economics professor Alan Jin with the University of San Diego says it's been the perfect storm for working families, and they keep falling behind when it comes to housing affordability in San Diego County.
San Diego's a desirable place to live, and so housing prices have surged, particularly after the pandemic. And so there's a shortage then of middle income, or what some people call workforce housing.
He says the median price of a single family home in San Diego is $900,000.
And so you need about $200,000 in annual income in a household in order for that. That's double what the median income is in San Diego.
And while this bill is a good attempt at solving the issue, he says in the long term, it might make the problem worse.
The problem is just too big for, I think, any one piece of legislation to handle. And I don't even know that it is fixable. Again, if you build enough homes and just drive the price down, that'll just encourage more people to want to live here. And then we start the problem all over again.
The bill may get its first committee hearing next month. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
CalFresh emergency allotments are ending tomorrow. KPBS reporter Melissa May visited a food distribution specifically for seniors that is set up to help those on a fixed income still put food on the table.
Started off today trying to figure out what I was going to do for the groceries, and now I'm so relieved that my also stopped hurting about 20 minutes ago.
Robin Moreno is a South Bay resident who is on a fixed income and was getting the CalFresh emergency allotment of $281 a month. But now that's coming to an end.
If you're a senior, your Social Security income doesn't go up when inflation goes up. They have the same amount to live on. Our rents are crazy expensive here in California, and especially in San Diego. Food prices are high, gas prices are high, and so it's services like the food banks, food distributions that really wrap around those seniors.
Shelley Parks is with the San Diego Food Bank, which recently served about 2,000 seniors in Chula Vista with boxes of food.
The box is about 40 pounds. It contains a lot of staple items, canned goods, dry goods, to get them through the month.
Many seniors are struggling to survive even with CalFresh benefits.
That's a tough choice that a lot of people have to make. Do you fill your prescription or do you eat for the day? Some seniors cutting prescription pills in half against doctor's orders, but just to make that prescription last a little bit longer, especially if they have something high cost that isn't covered by their Medi-Cal.
Parks says even though the extra benefits end on February 28th, people won't feel the pinch right away.
We expect to see the real surge in need in April because people are getting that money in their EBT card, able to spend it at the grocery store through March. But come April, we know that that money's not going to be there.
The San Diego Food Bank hosts 74 food distributions for seniors every month. You can find their locations and the food bank's other food distributions at sandiegofoodbank.org/gethelp. Melissa May, KPBS News.
SDG&E is making it easier for some of its customers to pay their bills following unprecedented natural gas prices. The additional $16 million in funding announced today means even more customers can receive up to $600 per household per year, double the current amount. The commodity price of natural gas in February decreased by 68% from January's prices. And March natural gas prices are expected to be lower due to service being restored to a pipeline. More information on assistance programs can be found at sdgne.com/assistance. If you have federal student loan debt, keep an eye on tomorrow's arguments at the Supreme Court. 2 cases challenging President Biden's plan to cancel some of that debt for millions of borrowers will come before the justices. Karen Kafa is in Washington with what to expect.
In limbo for months, President Joe Biden's federal student loan relief plan will have a turn before the U.S. Supreme Court Tuesday. Last August, Biden unveiled a sweeping plan to forgive up to $20,000 in federal student loan debt for borrowers whose income was less than $125,000 a year.
All this means people can finally crawl out from under that mountain of debt to get on top of their rent and their utilities.
Supporters lauded the move as a big step forward to ending a college debt crisis compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic. And the Biden administration said among borrowers no longer in school, nearly 90% of relief dollars would go to those earning less than $75,000 a year. Republican critics called it political landing as the 2022 midterm elections entered the home stretch and argued writing off an estimated $430 billion in repayments should get congressional approval. In December, the Supreme Court agreed to take up 2 challenges to the plan, including one from 6 GOP-led states, Nebraska, Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, and South Carolina, while keeping a block imposed by an appeals court last November in place. Millions of borrowers have been notified they're approved for debt relief. No debt has been canceled yet. The Biden administration's case leans on the post-9/11 HEROES Act of 2003, which granted the U.S. Secretary of Education authority to make changes to the federal student loan program during national emergencies. But the White House intends to end the COVID-19 national emergency on May 11th, which may make that argument more challenging.
In Washington, Karen Kafa, KPBS News.
Construction is now underway on a new student union at Southwestern College. It will have a cafeteria, bookstore, veterans resource support center, meditation room, and more. The new facility will cost a little over $100 million and is funded through Proposition Z, and that is the $400 million bond that was approved by voters in 2016.
It was voted on by the community, supported by the community, so this is really their space coming to fruition.
I'm definitely excited because we needed a little bit of an update on campus. It is nice to see that they're putting in the money and the time and the resources into improving our campus.
And the new building is expected to be finished in the winter of 2024. San Diego County got several inches of rain and more than 2 feet of snow over the weekend with a new storm on the horizon. KPBS SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge says these kinds of storms across California could make this rainy season a drought buster.
This weekend brought San Diego County one of the season's biggest winter storms. Alex Tardy with the National Weather Service says a cold storm from the north on Thursday brought low temperatures and snow levels down to 2,000 feet of elevation. Then conditions warmed as an atmospheric river brought tropical moisture.
And that rolled in Friday through Saturday, and it rained hard. Most areas saw 2 inches of rain. North County, 3 inches of rain.
That precipitation included hailstorms. In places, it switched from snow to rain and back to snow again as the temperatures fluctuated.
And there was locations that had repeated hailstorms from Friday all the way through Saturday. And then, of course, on Saturday, the snow levels went crashing back down to near 1,500 feet again.
As of 11 a.m. on Sunday, Mount Palomar had gotten 28 inches of snow over 5 days, and Mount Laguna had 29 inches, according to the National Weather Service. California has experienced drought conditions over the past 2.5 to 3 years. At the beginning of this season, there were few hopes of turning that around, but Tardy says this rainy season could bring precipitation levels and water supply back to normal.
We need about 2 times the snowpack and also about 150% of the rain. Not San Diego, but central Northern California. And we are on pace to seeing that.
In fact, much of California already has 2 times the normal snowpack. But if California is rebounding, another area that provides water to Southern California, the Colorado River Basin, still has a long way to go.
Now, the Colorado is doing well with snowpack. It's above average, but they have more than 3 years to make up. They have a decade to make up.
Tardy says that means even in the best conditions, we won't be able to stop saying drought after this winter is done. Rain and snow is predicted again for Wednesday in San Diego. I'm Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
The massive winter storm system marching across the country has spawned at least 9 tornadoes. Snow, rain, and high winds are also expected today from the West Coast through the Great Lakes. Mike Valerio has the latest.
Holy moly. In Norman, Oklahoma, neighborhoods battered. This Jeep flipped onto the driveway of another home. Families waking up to survey the destruction of strong winds, once expected starting in April, now here in February.
I got up and then the wind just threw me back and I'm screaming. It was like a blizzard inside the house with all the debris flying. And I was screaming for my kids, because they were in their bedrooms. I didn't know if they were hurt or anything.
Yep, look at that roof completely gone. Neighbors in the aftermath describing how they survived.
A lot of real strong wind. I was standing out in the garage. My wife went to the neighbors to get in a shelter.
This is all connected to the same sweeping storm system, one that brought rare blizzard warnings to the mountains of Southern California earlier in the weekend. Then tornado threats to Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas on Sunday. Monday morning, this twister touching down in Champaign, Illinois, as the system marches east. Back on the West Coast, a new system of rain and high elevation snow pushes from the Pacific Northwest into California and the Rockies. Mike Valerio, KPBS News.
Thanks for tuning in. Let's start you off with your weather headlines. We have a lot going on over these next few days. Periods of rain today and Tuesday, even some snow across the mountains, but heavier rain and snow late Tuesday into Wednesday. Dry and slightly warmer, though, towards the late week, so we do have some relief on the way. Here's your weather alerts for your Monday into Tuesday. This is a winter weather advisory in effect around the mountainous regions. That's going to be in effect 4 p.m. Monday through 4 p.m. Tuesday. Again, we are expecting some snow that can create some hazardous travel. Tonight, though, around San Diego Metro, we're dropping down to a low of 51. Now, we'll have rain and drizzle, so still dealing with active weather. Tomorrow's forecast, San Diego coming in with a high of 60 with that rain sticking around. Chula Vista at 59 with rain, Oceanside with some heavier rain at times, and as we head towards the higher terrain, that's where we're getting that snow. If we take this to Futurecast, what we're going to be dealing with, again, we're still dealing with a few showers throughout your day on Tuesday, but heavier rain pushing in late Tuesday. This is around 10 p.m. Pacific time, and we're starting to pick up on some snow. Heavier snow that we're anticipating, and then heading into Wednesday morning, it's going to be sticking around. The heavier snow is going to cause winter storm watches for the higher elevations here. That's going to be Tuesday afternoon through Wednesday evening. Snowfall expected in these areas. Big Bear Lake at 6 to 12 inches, Idlewild coming in at 3 to 6, and Wrightwood at 6 to 12 inches as well. Now, as we head into the rest of the week, here's your 5-day outlook along the coast. Again, rainy for the beginning of the week through Wednesday. We're staying in the 50s. Thursday, sunny but cool. Then we're back up to the 60s heading into the weekend. Now, more inland. Again, a shower possible through Tuesday and Wednesday, cooler, but we're back up to the 60s by Thursday, drying out with sunny weather. Gusty, though, along the mountains. We're talking snow again through the middle of the week, but drying out back up to the 40s by Thursday. And in the deserts, very windy and even rain in store for Wednesday, but drier towards the end of the week. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
The mayor of Imperial Beach tells KPBS that she feels there's finally light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to improving cross-border pollution. Paloma Aguirre talked with KPBS Midday Edition today about the recent settlement between her city, Chula Vista, the Port of San Diego, and the federal government. Some of the steps include better notification of future spills to the public, along with the building of a dirt berm on the U.S. side.
The dirt berm would stop, low flow sewage spills from happening, right? So that's a simple solution that has a very significant effect that could prevent beach closures from happening in Imperial Beach.
And Mexico is committing more than $100 million toward improvements on its side of the border, and you can hear more of that interview on the KPBS Midday Edition podcast. The Padres are close to announcing their latest mega deal to keep one of their stars in San Diego. Over the weekend, news broke that Manny Machado will extend his stay with the team. Sources close to him and the Padres report it's worth $350 million over 11 seasons. Fellow Padres Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, and Xander Bogaerts also agreed to lucrative long-term contracts in recent months. The Padres fans will be closely watching tomorrow when Fernando Tatis Jr. returns to the lineup. He's been sidelined for more than a year. Tatis is allowed to participate in spring training, but will miss a small portion of the regular season to complete his MLB penalty for using a performance-enhancing substance. Tomorrow's game starts at 12:05. A dispute between neighbors to a new regulation for backyard skateboard ramps in Vista. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wen spoke to neighbors involved about why they say it was needed.
If you want this in your backyard in Vista, then expect to shell out some big bucks for a permit. The Vista City Council recently approved an update to the city's code.
That item passes unanimously,
requiring residents who want to build a big skateboard ramp in their backyards to apply for a minor use permit. That permit will cost nearly $3,400. It will also specify the times the ramps could be used. Vista Deputy Mayor Karina Contreras says she voted in favor of the updated code to give neighbors peace of mind.
Having to go through a minor use permit allows the city to check for conformity, to check for those safety precautions.
This all started because neighbors complained about Ivandro Meneses' ramp in his backyard. He's had it for more than 10 years without a problem, he says, until some new neighbors moved in.
We always try to accommodate the timings to skate, to not interrupt them to do anything in their yards or, noise-wise. And for some reason, in the last 3-4 months, it just flipped. I don't know what happened.
Other neighbors say problems have been bubbling up for years. Tom Payne has lived here for more than 30 years. He's asked that his face not be shown on camera.
I submitted evidence to the city of Vista showing me in back of a camera in my yard there in the summer, and I'm holding the decibel meter like this so people can read it, and I have my face on camera, and outside it was more than 70 decibels.
This is what 70 decibels sound like. Some neighbors like Elizabeth Shabazi says the noise doesn't bother them.
They use it sporadically, like maybe a few times a day, but it never goes on for an hour or hours.
While the Vista City Council had much rather neighbors settle disputes among themselves, the issue highlighted some shortcomings in the city codes.
We're not just looking at this instance, but what this instance could become in the future, right? Is there going to be a proliferation of skate ramps, right? How is that going to affect our residents here in Vista?
The ordinance really only applies to backyard ramps that are 6 feet tall or more, such as this one. It will go into effect next month. In Vista, Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Andrea Overturf is a symphony musician, but that didn't satisfy her creativity, so she started making sculptures from things that she found at swap meets. Now her hobby has become a second career, and she is one of the official represented artists at the Studio Door in Hillcrest. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando created this video portrait of the artist.
Source from flea markets like Kobe's here in San Diego. I never quite know what I'm going to find there, which is part of the adventure. I like something that generally looks old, unusual, eclectic, has a lot of character and shape to it, movement, but I also have a lot of friends that give me stuff. It's like only me would get a delivery backstage of doll parts at a concert. A hearty background in horror and I guess something about dolls I just gravitate towards. I can't quite explain it. I just find them intriguing. I have learned that rubber is a little bit difficult to work with. I can't use like blow torches and things like that on it. If I really want to paint something, sculpt on top of it, put it in the oven and bake it with polymer clay, then it needs to be porcelain. When I do pieces, sometimes I know exactly what I want to do right away. Like in the case of this typewriter, I found this typewriter at Kobe's swap meet. I instantly knew I wanted to do some kind of an altar. So that piece came together really, really quickly. I also was referencing and thinking of this Roald Dahl show called Way Out. And this episode was called Sideshow, I believe.
Cassandra. And there she is, beautiful Cassandra. At least she was beautiful until she lost her head.
She is 100% a human body in a dress, and she's chained to an electric chair and has this giant light bulb for a head. And so that image really stuck with me. Some other pieces, like this Kettenkrad piece here, I sat on that for probably 2 years. And then I randomly had an old trumpet, and I just decided they needed to be married, that they were meant to be together. So yeah, sometimes it's instant, and sometimes things just sit in the studio for a couple of years while I just kind of marinate. There's this moment that happens sometimes where I see, like, though they're two totally disparate items, they look like they just belong together. And like I'm not just forcing two items together and just tacking them together, but that they look like they belong together. But sometimes it takes a couple years. Sometimes I am stuck with that piece. So like I have this fan that I just found. I think that's just a wonderful, beautiful antique. And I'm not quite sure what I want to do with it yet. The fact that I'm kind of having to force it so much kind of tells me I need to wait for something else to come along. And then I'll have that aha moment. So here's my little tiny art room, but it serves me. There's usually doll parts laying everywhere. It's right now just heads mostly, and various disembodied toys and heads and whatnot. So I guess it's kind of unofficially the morgue. So this piece I just started working on about a week ago. This is another thing that I sat on I forgot I even had this actually, this lab counter. And I really like kind of old analog type of stuff. I like the idea of things that have no function or make no sense, like Rube Goldberg devices sometimes, how it's just, the most complicated machine for the most menial task. People ask, where do you get all your ideas? And I get them from everything around me. So I just like to have weird things surrounding me. So I like things that have humor in them, irony. I understand why people think I have a dark aesthetic or that it's a little creepy, and that's fine if that's what people get out of it. But for me, that's usually just kind of what I find humorous or beautiful. I have a dark sense of humor. I just tend to gravitate towards things like that, and I think those things are beautiful and funny.
Absolutely fascinating. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.